Welcome, Black Pine Horror. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I never thought a simple road trip to clear my head would become the one night I still wake up thinking about. 3 years later, my name is Lydia Rowan, and back then, I was 26, burned out, irritated with life, and honestly tired of pretending I was fine. I had just gotten out of a suffocating 3-year relationship with a guy named Brent, controlling, insecure, and somehow charming enough that I convinced myself the red flags were just stress classic me. One night, he went off on me for not answering my phone at work. I was waitressing at a diner off Highway 12. My phone was literally in the back office charging. He showed up at the restaurant and caused a scene. I broke up with him the next morning. The first few weeks afterward were peaceful, until the silence in my apartment got too loud. I needed space. Mental space, physical space, emotional space. So when my cousin Jenna invited me to stay a week with her at her grad school campus in Ridgewater, Tennessee, I jumped at it. I planned a 2-day drive from Kansas City. Day 1, long haul, cheap motel overnight. Day 2, arrive refreshed. Easy plan. But trips that start easy rarely stay that way. I left KC at noon with my beat-up blue Honda Civic, a backpack of clothes, a bag of snacks, and the stubborn confidence that road trips fix everything. The first few hours were perfect. Warm air, long roads, music loud enough to drown out overthinking. Around 11:30 p.m. somewhere in rural Arkansas, exhaustion hit me like a wall. My eyes were sandpaper. My legs ached, and that weird dizzy feeling you get when you've been driving too long. Full force. I checked Google Maps, but I had zero service. Great. Okay, Lydia, I whispered to myself. Just find any exit with a place to sleep. The next exit had a faded food sign. McDonald's 1 mile, gas station 1 mile, Blue Willow Motel 1.8 miles. I didn't love it, but I didn't have another option. The road leading to the motel was pitch black, surrounded by nothing but woods swallowing the sky. I felt that little instinctive pinch of fear at the back of my neck, the one every girl recognizes, but learns to ignore because I'm probably just being dramatic. The motel appeared suddenly through the trees, like someone had dropped it there in the middle of nowhere. Blue Willow Motel. The sign flickered like it was tired of being alive. The parking lot was empty, except for one beat-up, silver pickup. Not ideal, not awful. Just unsettling. I parked and sat there for a moment. My gut was whispering, "Don't stay here," but my body answered, "Girl, we are done driving." So I grabbed my bag and headed toward the office. The lobby smelled like old coffee and lemon cleaner. A man in his late 50s sat behind the reception desk, wearing wire-rimmed glasses and a Carhartt jacket. "Evenin'," he said, voice scratchy like he lived on cigarettes. "You traveling alone?" My stomach tightened. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just passing through." He slid the guest book toward me. "Name and signature. Room available. Plenty of 'em," he chuckled. "Ain't too many folks stop out this way unless they're lost or tired as hell." Something about the way he said that made my arms break out in chills, but I wrote my name. He handed me a key card. "Room 12. Right round the corner. Door faces the lot. If you need anything, I'm here till 3. I thanked him and walked to my room. Room 12 looked exactly how you'd expect from a rural Arkansas motel. Beige curtains, faded blue comforter, yellowish walls, slight smell of old AC units and dust. But it wasn't gross, it wasn't scary. Just old. I locked the door. Double-checked it. Then triple-checked it. I showered quickly, changed, and turned off the lights. I was asleep within minutes. Knock, knock. My eyes flew open so fast my neck cracked. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m. I froze, listening. Knock, knock. Someone was definitely at the door. My heart pounded so hard it shook my ribs. I whispered to myself, "Don't answer, don't move." But I had to look. I silently slid off the bed and crept to the window beside the door. The curtains were cheap. Thin ones, the kind motels buy in bulk, and they swayed slightly from the AC. Lifted one corner just enough to glance outside. A man stood there. Not the receptionist. This guy was younger, mid-30s maybe, long greasy hair, gray jacket, dark jeans, hands stuffed into his pockets. He wasn't knocking anymore. He was just standing there, facing my door, facing me, though he didn't know I was there. My throat went dry. He wasn't a guest. He wasn't dressed like one. He looked like he lived outside. I dropped the curtain instantly. The man knocked again, louder this time. "Hello." His voice was rough. "You awakened there?" "Hell no." I backed away slowly, trying not to make a sound. After maybe 40 seconds, I heard footsteps, then nothing. Stillness. I didn't breathe for at least a minute. Finally, I peeked through the curtain again. He was gone. I barely slept the next 30 minutes. My mind was running like a hamster wheel. Maybe he was at the wrong room. Maybe he needed help. Maybe it was nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Not even close. At 1:28 a.m. there was another knock. I stopped breathing, same rhythm. Except sharper, more impatient. "No way," I whispered. I peeked outside. This time it was someone else, a different guy, younger. Tall, hood pulled over his face. All black clothes. Hands resting on the door handle, like he already tried turning it. This one didn't knock long. He twisted the knob. The metal rattled so hard I jumped back. He whispered something I couldn't hear. Then tried the knob again, locked. Thank God. He finally stepped away and walked down the row of rooms, stopping at 14, then 15, then 16, testing, trying, looking for an unlocked door. My stomach felt like it dropped straight through the floor. This wasn't a drunk dude mistaking rooms. This was something else. I turned my TV on low to calm my nerves, but I didn't relax. Not even a little. Another 30 minutes passed. A long, heavy thud shook my door. I leapt to my feet, then another, then a knock, fast and angry. I looked through the curtain. It was the first guy again. Closer this time, standing directly in front of the door, breathing hard. Jaw clenched. "Hey," he muttered, voice deeper. "You awake?" "I know you are. Come on." My blood ran cold. Why would he say that? I was shut off from the entire world. I paced the room, chewing on my thumbnail, my mouth tasting like copper from fear. Then I made a decision that probably saved my life. I packed everything, shoes, charger, bags, slowly and silently. I didn't turn on any lights. The plan was simple. Wait until the men looked away, unlock the door quietly, slip to my car, pray the engine didn't roar too loud. Drive like hell. Around 3:40 a.m. the two silhouettes in the pickup turned slightly, facing the woods. I seized the moment. I opened the door as slowly as possible. It still made a tiny metallic click. I froze. Nothing moved. I stepped outside. The air was cold and damp. My breath fogged immediately. Every part of me shook. My car was 30 feet away. Just 30 feet. I walked slowly at first. Then faster. Then, "Hey." A voice exploded behind me. I didn't look back. I sprinted to my car. Keys, keys, keys. I fumbled with them, hands trembling so violently. I dropped them on the pavement. "Stop," one of the men shouted. I snatched the keys, slammed them into the door lock, yanked it open, threw myself inside, and hit the lock button so hard my thumb bruised. Someone grabbed the door handle from outside. The car shook. I screamed. The man banged on the window, opened the __ door. I shoved the key into the ignition. My hands were slick with sweat. The engine hesitated. Then vroom. I slammed the gear into reverse, backed out so fast I almost hit a pole, then floored it toward the exit. One of the men ran after me for several seconds before giving up. I didn't stop. I didn't look back again. My heart was somewhere up in my throat. I drove until sunrise, straight into Tennessee, straight to Jenna's campus, straight into her arms as I broke down crying in the parking lot. Jenna called campus security. Campus security called the county sheriff. They contacted the sheriff from the Arkansas county I stayed in. 2 days later, he called me. "Ma'am, we're very familiar with that motel." My blood chilled. "What do you mean?" "It's a known spot for local trouble. Drugs, trafficking attempts, robberies. Last year we arrested 2 men who were breaking into rooms late at night. People passing through are easy targets. You're lucky you left when you did." I asked him if he had checked room 12 or the area around it. He paused. Then he said something that still gives me goosebumps. "We found pry marks on a few of the room doors, looked fresh, and a couple of cigar butts by the tree line, with footprints leading back to where a truck had been parked." I thought about the pickup, the silhouettes, the pointing, the whispering. They weren't knocking at random. They were searching. They were waiting. And I, alone, exhausted, unaware, had checked into the place they used like a hunting ground. I still can't sleep in ground floor motel rooms. I still triple check every lock. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear that first soft knock. The one that woke me, the one that almost changed everything. I never thought a simple solo trip would twist itself into one of the strangest and most disturbing memories of my life. Even now, whenever I try to talk about it, my voice tightens. Like my body is warning me not to bring that night back into the room. But I know if I don't tell it properly, if I don't lay out every emotion and every moment as I remember it, it'll keep haunting me in little flashes for the rest of my life. So here it goes. I had gone to Pine Ridge, Colorado, for a 3-day workshop connected to my job. I work as a youth counselor. Lots of traveling for conferences, lectures, training sessions. Honestly, I love driving more than flying. Being alone on the road gives me space from everyone and everything. Plus, flights were expensive, and my car felt like my own safe little bubble. The workshop had gone fine. But I wasn't in the best frame of mind at the time. I had recently gotten out of a 2-year relationship that ended. So abruptly it still stung when I remembered it. My ex never hit me or anything like that. But the emotional distance, the way he could stare right through me, made me feel like a ghost in my own home. By the time we broke up, I felt relieved, but empty. So I stayed an extra night after the conference, just to clear my head. I explored some trails, ate alone at a diner, watched people laugh with their friends and families. It felt like everyone had someone except me. When I finally packed my car on Sunday morning, I actually felt good, lighter. Like the drive home would be refreshing, a reset. But the universe had something else lined up. I drove all day through long stretches of empty land. Flat open highway with tiny towns popping up every couple hundred miles. By the time the sun dipped down, I was somewhere along Highway 287 in northern New Mexico, heading toward Texas. It was getting late, around 9 p.m., but I wasn't sleepy, just stiff and hungry. When I saw a sign for Mesa Creek Rest Area, I figured I'd stop, stretch my legs, and keep going. It looked small, but decently lit. A couple of semis were parked, and a few SUVs. Nothing weird. But the air felt different the moment I pulled in. Thicker somehow. Maybe because it was a hot night. Maybe because of the loneliness of the highway. Maybe because of what was about to happen. I parked near the building, got out, and headed inside to use the restroom. The air smelled like pine trees and diesel fumes. Pretty normal for a rest stop. When I walked out again, everything still felt normal. Until I noticed him. He was standing off in the grassy area near one of the big oak trees, not close to the building, not close to any cars. Just there. His posture was weird, like he didn't know where to put his hands. He wasn't using a phone, wasn't smoking, wasn't stretching his legs. Just a thin guy in dark jeans and a faded hoodie, staring straight ahead into the rest stoplights. 2 days later he called me. "Ma'am, we're very familiar with that motel." My blood chilled. "What do you mean?" "It's a known spot for local trouble. Drugs, trafficking attempts, robberies. Last year we arrested 2 men who were breaking into rooms late at night. People passing through are easy targets. You're lucky you left when you did." I asked him if he had checked room 12 or the area around it. He paused. Then he said something that still gives me goosebumps. "We found pry marks on a few of the room doors, looked fresh, and a couple of cigar butts by the tree line, with footprints leading back to where a truck had been parked." I thought about the pickup, the silhouettes, the pointing, The whispering. They weren't knocking at random. They were searching. They were waiting. And I, alone, exhausted, unaware, had checked into the place they used like a hunting ground. I still can't sleep in ground floor motel rooms. I still check every lock. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear that first soft knock. The one that woke me, the one that almost changed everything. But that night proved I was wrong. Very wrong. I was in my kitchen unpacking when I heard something outside. Not a knock, more like movement. Like shoes brushing against concrete, or someone shifting their weight on my front step. It wasn't loud, just there. I walked toward the window by the door, not thinking much of it. Maybe a package, maybe raccoons, but when I looked out, my lungs froze. My fingers curled against the windowsill. My entire body went cold, because standing on my front step, only a few feet from my door, was the same man from the rest stop. Same hoodie, same silhouette, same way of standing, but this time he wasn't staring blankly. This time his head was tilted slightly, like he was listening to something inside the house. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't pacing. He was just waiting. I didn't make a sound. I just turned on the porch light. The moment the light hit him, he ran. No hesitation, no confusion. Just sprinted away like an animal into the night, disappearing across the street and down the shadowy sidewalk. I staggered back from the window and almost dropped my phone as I tried to call someone. Anyon. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly hit the wrong contact. I finally called my best friend, Lily. The moment she answered, my voice cracked. Lil, someone was just at my door. What? Who? What happened? It was. I stopped, pressing a hand against my forehead. It was the guy from the rest stop. I swear to God it was him. Her tone changed instantly. Wait. What? How would he even? No, that doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't, I said. That's what scares me. Call the cops. I did. They came. Did a quick sweep, asked a bunch of routine questions. I told them everything. I even described the rest stop and the exact tree he had been standing under. The officers were polite, but skeptical. One of them said, "Ma'am, could it maybe have been someone else? Someone local? Maybe happens sometimes. People misidentify folks from a distance." "I know what I saw," I insisted. He nodded politely, but didn't look convinced. They patrolled around the block for a little while and then left, leaving me staring at my own front yard like it was an enemy waiting for the next move. I barely slept. Every noise made me jump. Every car passing made my heart race. I kept checking my locks, checking the backyard, checking the windows. But the man never came back, and part of me started wondering if maybe, just maybe, the cops were right. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe someone else who looked similar knocked on the wrong house. But deep down, I knew better. Because the look he had on his face at the rest stop wasn't a look you forget. It was eerie, focused. Intent in a way that didn't feel accidental. It was the kind of stare that stays in your bones. I told several people about it. Every single one had a theory. "Maybe he followed you," one said. "How would he know where she lived?" Another argued. "Maybe he lived near her. That's a crazy coincidence. Maybe she's mixing up two different guys. It happens. But I know what I saw, and the part that keeps me awake sometimes, even now, is the timing. He didn't follow me into the hotel. I checked security footage with the manager later. Nothing. No car like his. No hoodie. No man matching his build. So how the hell was he suddenly at my house? Hundreds of miles away. How did he find me? I don't have the answer. I replay the question too many nights. The weirdest part. 2 months later, while driving to the grocery store, I saw a missing person poster on a telephone pole. A young man from 2 towns over. Last seen wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. Described as quiet. Thin. Socially withdrawn. The photo wasn't clear, and something about the face looked familiar. But it was hard to tell. I never planned on taking that road, if anything. I always swore I'd avoid driving through little towns in the middle of nowhere. Especially the ones that felt like they'd been abandoned sometime in the early 90s, and nobody bothered to update the maps. But that weekend, Everything in my life felt like it was pushing me toward doing things I normally avoided. The trip wasn't supposed to be scary. It was meant to be a reset. Just me and Jenny. I'd known Jenny since we were 13. We were the kind of girls who made fun of cheesy horror movies and swore that if we ever ended up in one of those situations, we'd actually use common sense. Back then, we were convinced being smart kept you safe. A lot changes when you grow up. Real danger doesn't wait around to make sense, and sometimes luck is the only thing standing between you and becoming a statistic. The weekend getaway started because life had gotten too heavy. My dad had been in the hospital for almost 3 months. Heart issues, bad ones. And I'd been working double shifts at the diner to cover bills my job barely touched. Jenny had just gotten out of a year-long relationship with the guy she loved way more than he deserved. So when she barged into my apartment one evening with a Red Bull in one hand, and my overnight bag in the other saying, "Pack your crap, girl. We're going somewhere quiet before I lose my damn mind." I didn't argue. I didn't even ask where we were going. I just threw clothes into the bag while she talked a million miles a minute about a rental cabin she found near Silver Ridge, Colorado. A little tourist town. Mountains, lakes, quiet. I didn't realize how much I needed quiet until I heard myself breathe differently in the car. The first 2 days were perfect. We cooked at the cabin, watched reality TV, went into town for groceries and iced coffee, took pictures by the lookout points, joked around like teenagers again. It felt good, human, like my life wasn't falling apart piece by piece. And Jenny, God, she was glowing again, laughing again. Her ex had drained the happiness out of her without her even noticing. And this trip was the first time I'd seen her be herself in over a year. The day we were leaving, the universe still felt normal. Not great, not fixed, just normal. If I'd known what was waiting for us back on the road, I probably wouldn't have even left the cabin. But we don't get warnings like that in real life. The only hint we ever get is a feeling in our stomach. The one we always ignore. We packed the car around 11 o'clock in the morning. Jenny insisted on driving the first half because I tended to get tired early. It was a long ride back to Kentucky. Around 16-17 hours. And we didn't want to stay another night in a hotel. Everything started out fine. We listened to music. We made fun of Jenny's Spotify recommendations when she threw on some depressing acoustic playlist. "Woman, this is a road trip, not a breakup montage." She rolled her eyes. "Shut up. I like sad dudes with guitars." We got gas 3 times, ate cheap gas station snacks, argued about whether Cheetos counted as a real meal, talked about everything and nothing. Hours passed. The sun went down. And once we crossed into Indiana, the highway became a web of exits and detours, thanks to construction signs every 10 minutes. By the time Jenny got tired and I took over the wheel, it was already close to 3 o'clock a.m. We were supposed to stay on Route 64, but the GPS kept recalculating. Then recalculating again, then again, and somehow we ended up on a narrow 2-lane road that barely fit 2 cars at once. Trees pressed against the road like they were trying to swallow it whole. Fog clung to the edges. No street lights, no houses. Just blackness on both sides. Jenny had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, curled up with her hoodie over her face. At first, the silence felt peaceful. Then it started feeling wrong. The road was too empty, too quiet. And I was too tired to think straight. It started with headlights in my rearview mirror. Faint at first, then brighter, then brighter. The car was far behind me, maybe 2 football fields. But something about it made my stomach tense. Most cars pass. Most cars don't stay behind you at the exact same distance for 20 minutes. I tried to shake off the paranoia. I turned the radio down, took slow breaths, told myself, "It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Chill out. People drive early. It's fine." But the road got narrower, curvier. The trees blocked the horizon. Everything felt like it was closing in, and the car kept following. Not closer, not farther, just there watching. I flicked my eyes to Jenny, wishing she'd wake up because I didn't want to deal with this feeling alone. But her face was buried under her hoodie, and she was dead asleep. Then it got worse, because once we reached a part of the road that twisted like a snake, the headlights behind me suddenly sped up. Fast. Too fast. I felt my pulse jump. No, no, no. The car behind me swerved slightly. the engine loud even from a distance. And then, right as I rounded a curve, brights. They hit me so hard I flinched. The interior of our car lit up like someone had turned on a stadium floodlight. My eyes stung. Okay. Nope. That's not normal. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. The car behind me pressed closer. Closer. Now they were right on my bumper. So close I couldn't see their headlights. Just white light flooding through the rear window. Jenny, wake up. I reached over and shook her shoulder, but she barely mumbled. I didn't have time to try again, because the next curve revealed something that made all the air leave my lungs. 4 fat, heavy tires sat in the middle of the road. Not rolling, not part of a blown out piece of rubber, placed like a row, like someone had set them there. My brain didn't process it in time. I was going too fast. I tried to swerve, but there was no shoulder. Just a ditch and thick trees. We hit the tires hard. The car jerked up. The sound of rubber scraping rubber echoed through the cabin. Something thumped under us, like metal hitting the bottom of the car. Jenny jolted awake with a scream. What the? I slammed the gas pedal down. The car behind us kept tailing, but now it slowed slightly, like it expected us to stop, like it wanted us to. Jenny was breathless. What happened? What did we hit? Tires. Someone put tires in the road. What? Why? Before I could answer, we rounded the next bend, and that's when I saw them. On the right side of the road, the rising sun lit the bushes from behind. Light spilled through the branches, making silhouettes easy to see. Silhouettes of people. 5, 6, maybe 7. All crouched, all watching. Not moving. Not startled. Waiting. Jenny gasped. I couldn't look long. I needed my eyes on the road. But what I saw made my blood go cold. Someone was holding a long metal object. Another had something like a thick wooden stick. One person had both hands low, like they were holding something heavy near the ground. These weren't bystanders. These weren't hunters. These weren't people waiting for a bus at dawn. This was an ambush, and they were pissed we hadn't stopped. My voice cracked as I said, "We're not dying here." Jenny whispered, "Drive. Just go, go." So I did. I floored it. The tires screamed as the car hit 70 miles per hour, then 80, then 90, on a road barely wide enough for 2 cars. Branches whipped at the sides. The GPS kept losing signal. Jenny kept glancing back, her panic rising with every second. They're following us. I risked a glance. The car behind us, an old dark-colored truck, was speeding up again. The headlights bounced violently, hitting potholes and dips like it didn't care what happened to its suspension. The truck roared closer. My hands were slick with sweat. My throat felt like it was closing. Jenny slapped the dashboard. "Faster, please." "I'm trying." The curves were deadly. I could barely control the car at the speed we were going. But slowing down wasn't an option. We reached a fork in the road. The GPS didn't load. 2 unmarked paths left or right. No time. The truck lurched forward, closing the distance. Jenny pointed frantically. "Left, left." I yanked the wheel. The car skidded, fishtailing so hard I thought we'd tip. The truck overshot the turn for a moment. Just one moment. It disappeared from view. I didn't breathe. Jenny didn't breathe. Then the road straightened. I kept driving until my arms shook from gripping the wheel so tightly. We didn't stop until we saw a flickering fluorescent sign that said, Dewey's Fuel and Mart. A tiny gas station, old, mostly empty, but it was something. I pulled in fast, almost hitting the pump. Jenny jumped out first. Her voice was shaking. "Check the tires, check the tires." I got out and crouched down. My stomach dropped. Each tire had at least 3 or 4 nails embedded in them. Not random nails, fresh roofing nails, still shiny. Someone had scattered them inside the tires we hit. If the tires weren't brand new, we would have blown out on those curves. I felt sick. Jenny hugged herself, pacing. What the hell did we drive into? Who does that? Who just ambushes people? I didn't know, and I didn't want to think about what would have happened if we'd stopped. Inside the store, an old man behind the counter looked at us like we were crazy when we told him what happened. He murmured, "You girls shouldn't be on those roads before sunrise." I swallowed. "Why?" He hesitated. Then he said, "Some folks out here don't like outsiders." That was all he gave us. We didn't ask for more. We paid for gas. I avoided telling Jenny anything that would make her panic worse. She avoided asking questions I wasn't ready to answer. We got back in the car. I didn't relax until we crossed into Kentucky, and the sun was fully up. Jenny talked about it once, weeks later. We were sitting in my kitchen eating leftover pizza when she said softly, "They weren't trying to rob us, right?" "No." "Then what did they want?" I didn't have an answer. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the silhouettes in the bushes, crouched low to the ground like animals waiting for prey. I remembered the way the truck followed us, not reckless, not confused, with purpose. And I remembered that moment we hit the tires, that sound, that heavy thump. Someone was waiting just around the bend, expecting us to stop, expecting us to get out, expecting us to walk into whatever trap they had planned. If I had hesitated even a few seconds, I don't think we'd be here. Sometimes I lie awake thinking about that alternate version of the story, the one where we stopped the car, the one where we never made it to the gas station, the one where our names would have become a 2-paragraph local news article saying, 2 girls went missing before dawn in rural Indiana. People always say it could have been worse, but most people don't know how close worse can get before you realize it's breathing down your neck. I never told anyone else. Not my parents, not my coworkers, not any emergency hotline. I didn't want to relive it. And honestly, I didn't want to hear someone say, "You're exaggerating," or "You misinterpreted what you saw." Some things don't need belief to be true. Some horrors don't need supernatural explanations. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who live in the dark on roads nobody monitors, waiting for cars that look vulnerable. And we were vulnerable. 2 tired girls. No weapons, no cell service, no backup, just luck. And luck doesn't last forever. I still think about how close we came to not making it home. And whenever Jenny and I plan road trips now, we always say the same thing: no back roads. Not ever again. Because we've seen what waits there, and we're never going back. And so, as the night wraps itself around you and the world grows quiet, remember this: the road may call to you with its promise of freedom and adventure, but sometimes the most important journey is the one that brings you safely home. Lock your doors, trust your instincts, and if something feels wrong, it probably is. Thank you for listening, sleepy soul. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Sweet dreams. And remember, some roads look empty. They aren't.